scramble out of here. Oh, big shots. Big shots by Jon Jones.
Gustafsson in a world of trouble here.
Gustafsson's in trouble. That's
Jon
it.
Jones has regained the throne.
Wow.
Jon Bones Jones. The name alone strikes fear into opponents and sparks debate among MMA fans. Is he the greatest fighter of all time, or is his legacy forever tainted by controversy? His journey from a young prodigy to the most dominant light heavyweight champion in UFC history is filled with triumph, scandal, and redemption. But what's the real story behind Jon Jones's legacy? Is he truly untouchable, or has his reign been overshadowed by what happened outside the Octagon? Stick around as we uncover the untold story of Jon Jones's UFC career, the rise, the dominance, the controversies, and what the future holds for one of the most polarizing figures in combat sports.
Jones trying to get a hook in. Ghana's got to try to circle his back towards the right. Jones does a good job.
The meteoric rise of Jon Jones. In 2008, a young and relatively unknown Jon Jones stepped into the UFC Octagon for the first time. Just months before, he was fighting in small promotions, earning little money and trying to make a name for himself. But from the moment he made his UFC debut, it was clear. This guy was different.
And keeping his head bent down makes it difficult to breathe. He's making him carry his weight.
Yes, that's important. Jones is just making him carry him.
His unorthodox style, insane reach, and relentless wrestling made him an instant problem for everyone in the light heavyweight division. Within a few fights, people started whispering, "Could this be the next big thing?" That whisper turned into a roar in 2011 when Jones got his first title shot against Mauricio Shogun Rua. At just 23 years old, he became the youngest champion in UFC history. But it wasn't just that he won, it was how he won. He didn't just beat Shogun, he annihilated him. A brutal combination of strikes, elbows, and unmatched athleticism left the veteran champion in pieces. That night, a new era in MMA began, the Jon Jones era. Over the next few years, Jones took out a murderer's row of legends: Quinton "Rampage" Jackson, Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, and Vitor Belfort. And he wasn't just winning, he was making it look effortless. His reach, fight IQ, and ability to adjust mid-fight made him nearly invincible. By 2015, Jones was already being called the greatest of all time, but just when it seemed like nothing could stop him, his demons caught up. The downfall. A champion's struggle with himself. Despite being the most dominant fighter in UFC history, Jon Jones became just as famous for his troubles outside the cage. In 2015, he was stripped of his title after a hit-and-run incident that involved a pregnant woman. The UFC had no choice but to take action, and for the first time in years, Jones was no longer the champion. This should have been a wake-up call, but for Jon, it was just the beginning of a series of self-inflicted setbacks. After serving his suspension, Jones made his highly anticipated return in 2016 against Ovince St. Preux.
You know, you see this with Jones a lot, Bob.
Did for many fights in UFC.
That's the difference in this fight. St. Preux actually has the ability to get to Jones.
Though he won, something seemed off. He wasn't the same unstoppable force fans remembered. But then came UFC 214, the long-awaited rematch between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. It was one of the most heated rivalries in MMA history, and Jones silenced the doubters by knocking out Cormier with a devastating head kick.
Right here. Yep. It's getting clipped every here and there, just like every other fight, though. I mean, both these guys are getting hit. Less than 2 minutes here to go, round one. So you've got to say pretty good. While Jones outlanded Cormier.
He reclaimed his title, only for it all to come crashing down again. Days after the fight, news broke that Jones had failed another drug test. This wasn't just any violation. He tested positive for turinabol, an anabolic steroid. The UFC was left with no choice but to strip him of his title once again. His legacy, once untouchable, was now in question. Fans who once hailed him as the GOAT started to wonder, was it all a lie? Was his dominance fueled by talent, or was it something else? Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier, the greatest rivalry in UFC history. If there's one fighter who can say he was truly Jon Jones's greatest enemy, it's Daniel Cormier. The Olympic wrestler and former heavyweight champion was everything Jones wasn't. Disciplined, respectful, and a role model outside the cage.
Start here for Cormier, the betting underdog here tonight.
Oh, the bottom of the left hook.
I like the DC.
Their rivalry wasn't just about competition. It was personal. It all started in 2014 when the two fighters got into a heated brawl during a press conference. Insults were thrown, tempers flared, and fans knew this wasn't just another fight. This was war. When they finally met inside the Octagon at UFC 182, Jones outclassed Cormier in every aspect, winning a dominant decision. Cormier was devastated. For a man who had never lost before, losing to Jones was unbearable. Years later, the rematch at UFC 214 was supposed to be Cormier's redemption. But history repeated itself. Jones knocked him out cold.
Got the neck. 10 seconds. This ultimate grudge match.
Look at this.
Goes the distance.
However, after the failed drug test, the victory was overturned, leaving a bitter taste in the mouths of fans. Cormier finally got his chance to shine as the undisputed champion, but the shadow of Jon Jones never left him. Even in defeat, Jones found a way to haunt him. The return. Jon Jones reinvents himself. After years of controversy, legal trouble, and suspensions, many believed Jones's career was over. But in 2018, he returned to reclaim his light heavyweight throne against Alexander Gustafsson in a rematch.
Challenger in the blue trunks. Quickly he throws a kick.
Nice inside leg kicks.
Unlike their first fight, where Gustafsson pushed him to his limit, this time, Jones dominated and won via TKO.
And there's the final takedown.
It was a statement. Jon Jones was back, and he was still the best in the world. Over the next few years, he continued to defend his belt, but something was different. The aura of invincibility seemed to fade. Close fights against Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes raised questions. Was he declining? Was it time for him to move on? Jones answered that question in the most Jon Jones way possible by moving up to the heavyweight division. The heavyweight journey. Can Jon Jones become the undisputed GOAT? In 2023, after years of teasing a move to heavyweight, Jon Jones finally made his debut in the division against Cyril Gane for the vacant title. Many wondered, could Jones still dominate at a heavier weight? The answer was a resounding yes. In just over 2 minutes, Jones submitted Gane, proving once again why he is a generational talent. But the real test was yet to come. The fight everyone wanted was Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. It was a fight that could define Jones's legacy once and for all. Unfortunately, an injury delayed the matchup, leaving fans wondering if we will ever see it. Now, with the new wave of heavyweights like Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich, Jones faces a new challenge. Can he continue his dominance in a division filled with dangerous knockout artists? Or will time finally catch up to him? The mental game. Jon Jones's greatest weapon. Beyond his physical gifts, Jon Jones's true strength lies in his mental warfare.
See it on camera. Yeah, he's
tight.
under the chin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's got it tight.
Oh, yeah,
amazing.
he's squeezing there. Yeah, Gane wasn't going anywhere.
Many fighters are skilled, but few possess the fight IQ and psychological edge that Jones brings into the octagon. He doesn't just fight, he dissects his opponents before they even step into the cage.
He's got one hook.
Rampage has not been stopped in the octagon. That's what Jones wants, to be the first man in the...
From mind games at press conferences to targeted trash talk, Jones knows how to get inside his opponents' heads, making them fight emotionally instead of strategically.
He's a wild exchange.
He needs to be Vitor.
Yeah. Again, he pulls him into his guard. This is so crazy, and he winds up on the bottom in side control here. Oh, he's gonna get...
A prime example of this was his rivalry with Daniel Cormier. Jones constantly played the villain, poking at Cormier's emotions, making him fight with anger rather than focus. This mental warfare worked to perfection. Cormier admitted multiple times that he let Jones live rent-free in his head. And it's not just Cormier. Fighters like Rashad Evans, Chael Sonnen, and Glover Teixeira all fell victim to Jones's ability to manipulate the psychological aspects of the fight. But there's another side to this. While Jones excels at controlling others, his biggest opponent has always been himself. His lapses in judgment, suspensions, and controversies stem not from his physical limits, but from his internal battles. If Jon Jones had the discipline of a fighter like Georges St-Pierre, would there even be a debate about his GOAT status? Legacy, and what comes next for Jon Jones. At 36 years old, Jon Jones stands at a crossroads. He has nothing left to prove in the sport. His record speaks for itself. Yet, his journey still feels unfinished. The fight against Stipe Miocic, which was supposed to be the final stamp on his legacy, remains uncertain. With newer, hungrier heavyweights rising, many wonder if Jones will stay active or retire as champion. The biggest question now is, how does Jon Jones want to be remembered? Will he step away on top, leaving behind an unparalleled resume?
It's all over! Jon Jones remains the UFC Light Heavyweight Champion!
Or will he take on one last challenge against the new generation of heavyweights, risking his legacy in pursuit of even greater glory? One thing is certain, whether you love him or hate him, Jon Jones has left a permanent mark on the UFC. His story is one of dominance, controversy, and redemption. And no matter what happens next, the name Jon Bones Jones will always be etched in the history of combat sports. So, what do you think? Has Jon Jones done enough to be called the GOAT, or does he need one final test? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
And Leoto's right arm goes limp, but his left arm is stuck up there. Wow.
Jon Jones, the greatest or the most controversial? Jon Jones is a paradox. He is both the greatest fighter we've ever seen and the most controversial champion in UFC history. His talent is undeniable, but his legacy is filled with asterisks. For every record he holds, there's a scandal attached to his name. But one thing is certain, no one has ever done what Jon Jones has done inside the octagon. So the question remains, will Jon Jones be remembered as the greatest fighter of all time? Or will his demons overshadow his greatness? Only time will tell.
Jones with a left hand. That one hurt him. That one opened a brutal elbow. Big elbows. Trying to finish this fight.
Shogun's badly hurt, Mike.
Jon Jones looking to finish Shogun. And it is all over. Jon.
But one thing's for sure. When we talk about the history of MMA, the story of Jon Jones will always be the most fascinating. What do you think? Is Jon Jones the GOAT, or does his legacy have too many controversies? Let me know in the comments.